Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever noticed how loud the world has become? In a world that glorifies noise, constant updates, endless opinions, and the pressure to always respond, it may seem almost counterintuitive to believe that silence is power. But it is. Silence is not the absence of strength, it is the presence of it. It is a deliberate choice, a practiced form of self-control. It is the most overlooked weapon in a world that never stops speaking. When you remain silent in a room full of noise, you stand out, not because you're weak, but because you're calculated. It's not that you don't have something to say, it's that you choose not to say it. There's an unmatched level of power in being able to think before you speak, or not speak at all. It tells the world, I don't need to prove anything to anyone. That kind of confidence cannot be faked. Silence is the space where your self-respect lives. It's where your peace builds its walls. Many people mistake silence for submission. They assume that if you're not arguing back, you must be afraid. That if you're not posting every win, every move, or every opinion, then you must be empty. But isn't it exhausting to live for validation, to explain yourself constantly, to always feel the need to respond just because someone else expects you to? Let them underestimate you. Let them wonder. That's the gift of silence. It protects your energy and keeps people guessing. While others are distracted trying to be heard, you're observing, learning, preparing. Silence gives you clarity. It gives you the ability to read people and situations without revealing your hand. And in many cases, silence allows others to reveal theirs. People tend to show their true colors when you stop reacting. They expose themselves when they realize you won't take the bait. Some get louder, more aggressive, trying to trigger a response. Why? Because your silence makes them uncomfortable. It holds a mirror to their chaos. Your refusal to argue tells them they don't have control over you, and that drives them mad. Silence is also a form of emotional discipline. Anyone can yell, anyone can react, but it takes real strength to pause, breathe, and decide that something simply isn't worth your time or energy. Not everything deserves a reply. Not every situation needs a counterattack. Sometimes your growth demands that you walk away quietly and let people wonder where they lost access to you. Power doesn't always come with a raised voice or a bold declaration. Sometimes it arrives without a sound, wearing stillness like armor. The strongest people in the room often say the least, not because they don't know, but because they do. They understand the value of timing, of not giving away too much, of letting others speak themselves into corners while they remain composed. Silence teaches you to listen, not just to others, but to yourself. In silence, you hear your intuition louder. You notice what truly matters. You realize how often noise is just distraction in disguise. And once you get comfortable being silent, you stop fearing it. You begin to see it as a boundary, a filter, and a form of self-respect. You speak when it counts, and your words carry more weight when they come after stillness, and silence is healing. It lets you process before reacting. It gives you space to decide whether something even deserves your attention. That kind of awareness creates peace, and peace is where power regenerates. People who chase chaos can't understand this. They thrive in noise because silence would force them to confront themselves. And that is terrifying. When you operate in silence, you become unpredictable. That's intimidating. Your moves aren't public. Your progress isn't performative. Your strength builds quietly, and it lasts longer because it was earned in stillness, not applause. So when people question your silence, don't rush to explain. You're not here to meet their expectations. You're here to grow, to protect your peace, and to move wisely. When the time comes to speak, you will. But it will be intentional, impactful, and undeniable. Until then, let them wonder, because silence isn't weakness. It's power, pure, focused, and unstoppable. Master your emotions, written in a professional, emotionally rich tone, without subheadings or a formal conclusion, just as you requested. Emotions are powerful. They are the invisible forces that drive our decisions, shape our relationships, and influence how we see the world. But when they go unchecked, emotions can become our greatest weakness. Mastering your emotions doesn't mean you suppress them, deny them, or pretend they don't exist. It means you understand them, manage them, and learn how to respond rather than react. There is a quiet strength in the person who feels deeply but still chooses control over chaos. Every day, you are presented with triggers, moments that test your patience, your pride, your peace. Someone cuts you off in traffic, a colleague speaks to you with disrespect, a friend disappoints you, or life simply doesn't go as planned. The natural instinct is to lash out, defend, retaliate. But what if you didn't? What if instead of losing control, you gained it? What if instead of reacting impulsively, you responded with clarity? That is the heart of emotional mastery. It's not about being cold or detached. It's about being centered. It's about reaching a level where external chaos doesn't dictate your internal state. It's being able to sit with discomfort, with anger, with pain, and not let it consume you. That kind of control is not about pretending everything is okay. It's about acknowledging the storm and still choosing not to be swept away by it. When you let your emotions rule you, you give away your power. You become a puppet to whatever the world throws at you. Someone says something offensive and you explode. Something unexpected happens and you break down. In those moments, you hand over the keys to your peace. You allow someone else or something else to drive your behavior. But when you master your emotions, you take those keys back. You decide what deserves your energy. You decide how much space something gets in your mind, in your day, in your life. Emotional mastery doesn't happen overnight. It is a practice, one built in silence, reflection, and repetition. It starts by observing your reactions. What triggers you? Why do you feel threatened, disrespected, ignored? What is the story you're telling yourself in those moments? The better you understand your own emotional patterns, the better you can break them when they no longer serve you. Self-awareness is the first weapon in the fight for your emotional freedom. There is also a difference between feeling your emotions and being controlled by them. You are allowed to be angry. You are allowed to feel sad, hurt, disappointed, but don't let those emotions build a home inside you. Don't let temporary feelings lead to permanent decisions. Breathe before you speak. Pause before you act. Sometimes that single moment of stillness is what keeps you from making a choice you'll regret. And that pause, that's where emotional strength is born. Mastering your emotions also means not allowing others to manipulate them. Some people will test you, provoke you, try to steal your calm because they've lost their own. Don't hand it over. If someone can easily push you into rage, they control you. If someone's opinion can ruin your entire day, they own you. Emotional intelligence teaches you how to separate someone else's chaos from your inner peace. Just because someone throws fire doesn't mean you have to burn with them. This mastery doesn't just protect you, it empowers you. It makes you a better communicator, a stronger leader, a more grounded human being. You become the person who doesn't spiral in crisis, who doesn't panic under pressure, who doesn't let emotions cloud judgment. You become trusted, respected, and resilient, not because you feel less, but because you manage more. The truth is, anyone can yell, anyone can cry, anyone can panic. That takes no skill, but to breathe in pain and exhale peace. That is strength, to take a hit and not hit back with words you'll regret. That is discipline. To cry in private and still show up in public with grace. That is power. So don't aim to be emotionless. Aim to be emotionally intelligent. Don't try to be unaffected. Aim to be unshaken. That is the real victory. Not the absence of emotion, but the ability to carry it well, to own it, shape it, and rise above it. Because the person who masters their emotions masters their life. Self-focus is self-respect, written in a smooth, professional, and emotionally expressive tone without subheadings or a formal conclusion. There comes a point in life when you realize that not everyone will understand you, support you, or even care about your journey, and that's okay. Because you weren't put on this earth to be understood by everyone. You were put here to become someone you're proud of. That journey begins the moment you stop trying to please others and start focusing on yourself. Self-focus isn't selfish. It's the deepest form of self-respect. In a world constantly demanding your attention, likes, opinions, appearances, it's easy to forget the most important person in the room, you. You start showing up more for others than you do for yourself. You put other people's needs ahead of your peace. You silence your voice to keep the room comfortable, but slowly, something inside you begins to fade. That spark, that power, that sense of direction, it starts to feel distant. That's when the shift has to happen. That's when you choose to come back to yourself. Focusing on yourself means learning to say no, even when it's uncomfortable. It means choosing solitude when the crowd no longer aligns with your values. It means putting your energy into becoming, not performing. You begin to understand that your time, your mental space, your emotional bandwidth are all sacred, and not everyone is entitled to them. You realize that being everything to everyone leaves you empty to yourself, so you start pouring into your own cup. Self-focus teaches you to stop chasing validation. You don't need to prove your worth through overexertion or constant availability. Your value doesn't increase when you're overextended or exhausted. It increases when you set boundaries, protect your space, and prioritize your growth. You stop explaining your choices. You stop apologizing for evolving. People might call it distance, but it's not. It's alignment. You're simply choosing to walk your path without needing permission. There's a deep kind of power in waking up every day and asking yourself, what do I need? What do I want to create? How do I want to show up for myself today? When you ask those questions consistently, your life begins to shift. You stop living on autopilot. You begin to act with intention. The noise of the world fades into the background, and the voice within becomes louder, clearer, and more confident. And it's not about isolating yourself, it's about elevating yourself. You're not turning your back on people, you're turning toward your purpose. You start attracting relationships, opportunities, and experiences that reflect your self-worth, not your self-neglect. You stop settling, you stop shrinking, and you start living from a place of wholeness rather than lack. This kind of focus doesn't always look glamorous. It looks like early mornings, late nights, hard conversations, deep reflection. It looks like choosing peace over people pleasing. It looks like losing some connections so you can reconnect with yourself. But every decision rooted in self-focus is a vote for your future. It's proof that you take yourself seriously. When you respect yourself, you stop chasing things that were never meant to be yours. You stop begging for attention, validation, or love. You realize you don't have to earn what you already deserve. And you learn to stand alone without feeling lonely. You become your own home. The truth is, no one will ever fight for you the way you can fight for yourself. No one will ever fully understand the battles you're facing or the strength it takes to keep going. So focus inward. Prioritize your healing, your learning, your peace. Because when you choose yourself, you don't lose anything that was real. You only lose what was distracting you from who you're meant to be. Self-focus is not a phase, it's a commitment, and that commitment is the purest form of self-respect. Not everyone deserves access to you. Written in a realistic, powerful, and emotionally resonant tone without any subheadings or formal conclusion. One of the most freeing realizations in life is that not everyone deserves access to you. Not everyone is entitled to your time, your energy, your mind, or your heart. For far too long, many of us stretch ourselves thin trying to be everything for everyone, always available, always reachable, always pouring from a cup that's already empty. But access to you is a privilege, not a right, and not everyone has earned it. We live in a culture that glorifies constant connection. People expect instant replies, immediate answers, and unlimited presence. But just because someone reaches out doesn't mean you have to reach back. Just because someone demands your attention doesn't mean you owe it to them. The more you grow, the more you realize that access must be earned through respect, consistency, and mutual value, not just proximity or history. You are not obligated to keep people in your life who drain you. You are not responsible for keeping relationships alive that only survive on your effort. There comes a point where you must protect your peace more than you protect someone's feelings. That's not cruelty, it's clarity. It's the quiet strength of knowing that your well-being matters too. The truth is, some people only show up when it benefits them. Some take without giving, some speak without listening. They don't see you, they see what they can get from you. And if you don't set boundaries, you'll find yourself constantly giving pieces of yourself away until there's nothing left. You begin to feel resentful, invisible, and emotionally exhausted, all while they remain oblivious to the weight they've placed on you. Protecting your access doesn't mean you build walls around your heart. It means you build gates with locks, and you decide who gets the key. You learn to recognize patterns, not just apologies. You start paying attention to how people treat you when you have nothing to offer. You begin to value consistency over charm, effort over excuses, and energy over history. That's emotional maturity. And no, it doesn't matter how long someone's been in your life. Time doesn't guarantee respect. Just because someone's been around for years doesn't mean they deserve a front row seat anymore. Sometimes the people closest to us are the ones who most take us for granted, and keeping them around out of guilt or habit only blocks the space where healthier connections could grow. As you evolve, you'll lose people. That's natural. What's unnatural is clinging to people who no longer align with who you're becoming. You don't need to explain your boundaries. You don't need to justify your growth. Silence is enough, distance is enough. Some people won't understand your absence until they feel the weight of losing your presence. And by then, it's often too late. The access you allow shapes the quality of your life. Who you surround yourself with influences your energy, your mindset, and your sense of self. So be intentional, be protective. Ask yourself, does this person pour into me the way I pour into them? Do they honor my space, or do they just occupy it? If the answer is no, it might be time to step back, to reclaim your energy, to reset the access. You don't have to be bitter. You don't have to be loud. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is quietly remove yourself and protect what's sacred. Your mind, your heart, your peace. Because once you realize your value, you stop offering discounts. And when you respect yourself, the world begins to follow your lead. Not everyone deserves access to you. And the moment you fully accept that, you reclaim a kind of power no one can take away. Growth is a personal journey, written in a deeply reflective, professional, and emotionally grounded tone, with no subheadings or conclusion, as you requested. Growth is not loud. It doesn't always come with applause, recognition, or clear milestones. Most of the time, it's quiet, internal, and invisible to everyone but you. That's because growth is a personal journey, one that cannot be measured by someone else's timeline, approved by someone else's standards, or validated by someone else's opinion. It's yours alone, and the beauty of it lies in that solitude. There's a pressure today to prove your progress, to show the world you're evolving, to package your development in posts and updates so others can witness your transformation. But real growth doesn't beg to be seen. It's not always pretty. It's not always perfect. Sometimes it looks like pulling away from the crowd, sitting with uncomfortable truths, making decisions no one claps for, and choosing the harder path when the easier one would have been more convenient. No one fully understands what you're carrying or what you've had to overcome just to be where you are. They don't see the nights you've doubted yourself, the silent battles you've fought, or the strength it's taken to keep showing up. That's why comparing your growth to someone else's is a trap. Their journey is not yours. Their pace, their progress, their path, it all belongs to them. What's meant for them will never require you to shrink who you are or speed up your process. Sometimes growth means moving forward. Other times it means standing still long enough to figure out what you even want. Sometimes it looks like breaking ties, walking away, starting over. Sometimes it means forgiving yourself for who you were when you didn't know better. Growth isn't always linear. It's messy, nonlinear, unpredictable, and still it's valid, even when no one notices, even when you don't have the words to explain it. You don't owe anyone access to your process. You don't have to explain why you're healing in silence, why you're distancing yourself, or why you're changing your mind about what you thought you wanted. Growth often requires isolation. Not because you don't love people, but because you're learning to love yourself enough to hear your own voice above the noise. That kind of clarity can't be found in crowds. People may question your journey. They may not understand why you're shifting, why your energy is different, why you're not who you used to be. Let them. You're not here to meet the expectations of a version of yourself that existed just to make others comfortable. You're here to become, to evolve, to discover what sets your soul on fire and then move toward it without apology. There will be moments when it feels like nothing is happening, like you're stuck. But even in those quiet seasons, something inside you is shifting. You're unlearning, you're rebuilding, you're realigning. Growth doesn't always show up as fireworks. Sometimes it whispers, and those whispers are just as powerful as the loud victories. Your journey will not look like anyone else's, and it's not supposed to. There is no universal timeline, no checklist, no blueprint for becoming. What matters is that you're moving, even if it's slowly, even if it's clumsy, even if no one claps. You're becoming more honest, more aware, more aligned with who you truly are. That is growth, that is the journey, and that is enough. The real strength is restraint, written in a firm, emotionally resonant and professional tone, without subheadings or a conclusion, just as requested. Strength is often misunderstood. We're taught that it looks like dominance, loudness, or the ability to overpower. But real strength, the kind that changes you from the inside out, that lives in restraint. It's the power to hold back when every part of you wants to explode. It's choosing silence when anger is burning through your chest. It's walking away when your ego begs you to fight. Restraint is not weakness, it's control, and control is power. In a world that constantly provokes you, restraint becomes an act of rebellion. When someone disrespects you, when situations test your patience, when life throws you off balance, your reaction feels justified. You want to lash out, prove a point, defend your pride, but what does that really give you? A temporary sense of satisfaction, a few words you can't take back, a moment where emotion outweighs intention. Anyone can react, anyone can scream, slam doors, send a message fueled by heat and hurt. But not everyone can pause, breathe, and choose to protect their peace instead. Restraint doesn't mean you're passive. It means you're powerful enough to decide when something deserves your energy, and when it doesn't. It means you're no longer controlled by impulse. You've grown beyond the need to win every battle, correct every misconception, or respond to every trigger. Some things are simply not worth your dignity. Some situations don't deserve your fire. There's strength in not proving yourself, in choosing to walk away with your integrity intact rather than stooping to a level that compromises who you are. You don't need to attend every argument you're invited to. You don't need to match the chaos around you. Sometimes the greatest flex is staying grounded while everything around you tries to pull you into the storm. The moment you realize that silence is not surrender, but strategy, you take back control. Restraint requires self-awareness. You have to know your own patterns, your own triggers, your emotional blind spots. You have to catch yourself in that split second between feeling and acting. That's where strength is forged, not in the reaction, but in the pause before it. Anyone can lift something heavy. Few can carry the weight of their own emotions and set them down with grace instead of throwing them at the world. When you practice restraint, you protect more than just your peace. You protect your relationships, your future, your character. Words once spoken can't be unspoken. Actions driven by anger often leave behind regret. Restraint saves you from the damage of your own temporary feelings. It teaches you that you can acknowledge your emotions without being ruled by them. It takes courage to be calm. It takes power to not be pulled into the energy of others. It takes discipline to choose a measured response over a reckless reaction. And that choice, the quiet one, the invisible one, is where your real strength lies, because restraint doesn't scream, it doesn't ask for attention. It works in the background, protecting everything you've built with silent precision. When people try to provoke you, they want access to your energy. Don't hand it over so easily. Let them talk, let them judge, let them misunderstand. Your restraint is not about them, it's about you. It's a decision to no longer give away your power every time the world tries to pull it from you. In a world where noise is mistaken for power, be the one who understands the strength of stillness. Let them wonder what you're thinking. Let them sit in the silence they created. Because sometimes the loudest message is the one you don't deliver.